Public Enlightenment Radio Show, brought to you by the Bankers Committee. I'm Kayode Okikelu, and I tell you, I have missed you so much. A few things have happened since we last spoke. Okay, maybe not a few things. A lot of things have happened, but come to think of it, actually, you wouldn't say we didn't give you heads up or we didn't quite prepare you for those things that have happened. I think it's fair to say that we gave you a lot of heads up with the quality of conversations we brought to you, and more importantly, the pointers we gave on the show the last time out. We brought you weeks and weeks of episodes on different issues, empowering you with helpful and profitable information. Well, a typical example is a talk about POS or agency banking. You know what? If you actually started the business back then, congratulations to you, because you know just how much you've been empowered. But hey, we're not selfish. We're back again with even more help. So let's get right into it. Brace up. Wherever it is you're at this evening, if you're driving, get comfortable. Yeah, your seatbelt should be on, okay? Watch out for other road users. Keep your eyes on the road, but keep your ears on this radio show. As always, you can be a part of this. So many options to choose from, but wherever it is you're joining us from, let me say welcome once again. This is a financial literacy and public enlightenment radio show brought to you by the Bankers Committee. I can tell you this for sure. There is so much we have in store for you. So again, brace up, fasten your seatbelts, and let's get into it. But I'd like you to know that you can join us several platforms, all right? You can join us now via Zoom. You know how we do. We always give you different options. So we're not just live on the Radio Nigeria network across Nigeria. We're also live on Zoom. We're live on YouTube. And if you want to be a part of that, if you want to get that immersive experience of the financial literacy and public enlightenment radio show, head over to our website now. That's smegrowth.ng. You can get a link to that. Okay, let me take that slowly. smegrowth.ng. You get all access to our YouTube platform, our Zoom platform, so you can get all that you need to know and get all of the insights. In case you're wondering who our guests are, what they look like, you can see them right there. But what's more is that you can actually call in or send in your questions live on the show. Yeah, I mean, this is not recorded, this is live, and we have all of the experts to handle your questions for you. So I'm going to be giving out the numbers, all right? The numbers you can send us a message through or call us through. So the first number is, are you ready for it? 0810-608-1681. I'll take that again, even slower. 0810-608-1681. But there's more. You can also call us or message us through this number, 0818-202-5883. I'll take that again, 0818-202-5883. I promise you, you'll need these numbers so you can speak to us wherever you are. And we don't segregate, we don't discriminate, all right? Whatever questions you bring in, we will make sure we answer them within the confines of the time we have, of course. So let's get into it, right? Without much ado, today we're exploring alternative payment channels. And what do I mean? What do you do, for example, when you want to pay for something and you don't have that cash, that liquid, that paper in your wallet, in your pocket, on your purse? What do you do? Do you turn away from your favorites? If you like corn, do you turn away from your corn seller? Or do you turn away from that bread seller? Or do you turn away from that thing you love so much? Well, you do not have to, because cash is not the only way to pay for things. Don't forget, we're in the cashless economy era. So today on the show, we'll be walking you through alternative payment channels. And as always, I am here with amazing people. They have all of the information you need. They've had years, decades of experience in the financial sector, and they'll be walking us through it. All right, so let's meet our guests. I have two of them right here with me in the studio. We have two of them virtually, and another one joining us from our Abuja studio. Right here in our studio is Chinyere Tonieke, who's a group head, digital banking, Globus Bank. Good evening, and thank you for joining us on FLP.
Thank you. Good evening for listening to us this evening.
Absolutely. It's great to have you. Well, she's the only lady in our midst, but I tell you, she's going to spice things up for us with all of the brilliance and experience she has. Right next to her is Mr. Olufemi Odumuboni, who's the head online banking at First Bank. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you. We're here with you, and it's a pleasure to join you live. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you as well. We have more people. Ademisola Adeye is Group Head, ATM Services and Acquiring, Fidelity Bank. He joins us virtually this evening. Hi, Ademisola. All right. We also have Alex Iwuchukwu, who's Product Manager, EcoBank, joining us virtually as well. Alex, good to have you on the show. And Sebastian, good evening. And Sebastian Energy is the founder and CEO, Shago Payments Limited. He's live in our Abuja studio. Sebastian, it's good to see you.
Good evening. Good to see you all.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it. Okay. I don't want to take things for granted. I don't want to imagine that everybody knows that there are alternative payment options aside cash. So let's start from the foundation. And I'll start with Chinyere. We're gentlemen here. Ladies first. Can you walk us through just how many cashless payment options that are currently available in Nigeria, at least from the ones you're aware of?
Okay, thank you, Kado, for that question. But I will start by saying that I'm not going to give you a number. Yeah, because we have
just give us a few, right?
Channels that you can use to make payments aside cash.
Yeah.
Right? Like today, we're focusing on ATM. That is an automated teller machine.
Right.
And then we're also talking about internet banking today. And then there are other channels as well. We have our eNaira, which is recently launched by CBN. And then we have the mobile app, so you can use your mobile and do your transactions on the go. And then we have the USSD channel as well. For people that don't use smartphone, you can actually download the string to make payment via the USSD, okay? And then we have all those several services, right? So apart from the mobile app where you can do account-to-account transfers, there are even another wonderful service that we are all rolling out through all our banks today that we call virtual account. I don't know how many people have.
Oh, I love the sound of that. Virtual account.
So, when maybe you go to a merchant location and you want to make payment, and maybe you cannot make payment using your card at that time, you can just log into your mobile app and do a transfer to that account that is generated for you at that point, even on the online. So we have web payments as well. On the web, you can use your card to make payment. You can do transfers. You can also do USSD on the web. And we have our point of sales as well. And lots of those channels that I may not have to mention all of them. But trust me, we have several channels that you can ride on to do your transactions.
You know, there's that adage that there are so many ways to the market, right? There isn't just one way. And I'm glad you mentioned, you know, the POS, the USSD, transfers, online banking, POS, the virtual account. I'm particularly interested about that, but we won't get into that just yet. Okay, let's focus on, let's pick three: the ATMs, internet banking, and POS transactions. And that takes me to Mr. Odumuboni. You know, these options, quite a lot of them. And for someone like me, I have access to quite a number of them. I mean, if cash doesn't work, I can use my transfer. If transfer doesn't work, I can do USSD. If USSD doesn't work, I have lots of options, you know, but help us understand which options are fit for what kind of transaction, because we all do different kinds of transactions daily. And let me give you an example. As a typical Nigerian, I come out and I have to take my transport. So I either get into a bus, tricycle, a motorcycle, then I have to feed. I walk into that buka, you know, maybe not a restaurant, depending on your level these days. And I have to feed as well. Then I go to the market, I have to buy yam, I have to buy fish. Maybe a parent, I have to buy diapers. So different kinds of transactions. Is there a way we can know that, okay, this is for this kind of transaction, this option is for this kind of transaction? Is that something that we can get on board? Do you want to walk us through that?
Okay, thank you very much, Kyle. Good evening, listeners again. Yeah, quite interesting perspective there. There are quite a number of payment options there, and the use case you've actually cited. So, for example, if I wanted to make payment for my bus ticket, so what you see most bus drivers do these days, for instance, is to place their what's it called, their QR, the barcode, okay, and they paste it there. So you can just do scan and pay. Okay, so through that NQR, it's more like a contactless payment. So you can just do that on, and it debits your account, it credits that merchant, in that instance, the bus driver. And of course, I've made
made your payment.
Essentially, if I'm in the market, for example, I could just do a POS, swipe my card on the POS machine, and of course, it goes to the person. Okay, of course, even in the market these days, you'll be shocked. Even market guys will tell you, I accept transfers.
Oh, yes.
More often than not these days, they just give you the account details and you're able to transfer even in the market. So, I mean, there are a number of use cases. If you're in the shopping mall as well, you could also still pay your point of sale terminal. So make that purchase. So there are a number of options that you can do regardless of the situation.
So essentially, you're saying that these options are not limited to whatever transaction you want to make, really. It just depends on which works at that
exactly which works at that time. You could use a USSD, for example, to make payment. So NIBS has what they call M-Cash solution. So if I wanted to pay a merchant, for example, I could dial the 3-digit code for the bank. For example, in First Bank, I could dial *894. There's an 8-digit merchant code. I could dial that star 8-digit merchant code, star amount hash, and it debits me, okay, and it credits the merchant. So you could, like you said, you could make payments on the web as well. You could do pay with transfer, pay with QR, pay with USSD, pay with account. I mean, numerous options out there for you to pay.
Numerous options. I love the sound of that. We'll also get into the nitty-gritty. I mean, the reality of a lot of Nigerians. And by the way, you can be a part of this conversation if you're listening and you're trying to just wrap your head around it and thinking, okay, that's interesting. How do I go about this? So that means I can, use other options. You can send in your messages, your thoughts, whatever it is. You can actually call in at the time when we open the phone lines. But the messages can keep coming in. For now, the number to send in your message to is 0810 608 1681 or 0818 202 5883. Let's move on with the conversation, all right? Aderinsola, I'm on to you right now. And I'd also like us to break this down across maybe rural and urban areas. I mean, because we know how that works in Nigeria for low earners, mid earners, etc. Some won't transfer 200 naira because of charges and network issues and all of that. So is there a platform that works more for rural areas, another that works more for urban areas? So wherever I find myself, maybe I'm on Lagos Island or I'm in the hinterlands, I know which works for me. Aderinsola, can you hear me? That's for you. Okay, we'll get to him. Let me move on to Alex. Alex, you're with me, right?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, Alex, I want you to take on that question while we wait for Aderinsola. And I mean, I imagine you caught the question across the rural and urban areas. Which platform works best for perhaps rural areas, perhaps the urban areas, so that people who stay in these different areas can know which one to turn to when they don't have cash? Forgive me, the internet is not working with Aderinsola, but we'll get that sorted.
Okay, for me, I don't think there is a clear-cut channel for rural areas and a clear-cut channel for urban areas. But I know for urban areas, the internet penetration, the mobile penetration is high. The network is more stable. So we tend to have people who can use the internet banking. They can use the mobile app, the internet banking, because network is good. But in the rural areas where there are little challenges, we tend to see people use the USSD options. Network is more stable. So we tend to have people who can use the internet banking.
It's okay, Alex. It's a feedback. You can go on. Okay, that will stop.
Network is good. But in the rural areas where there are little challenges, we tend to see people.
All right, we'll get that sorted. Just a little hit from the technical side. We're getting all our, resource persons across platforms, Zoom, Abuja, and all of that. So not to worry, we'll get that sorted. But let me come to Sebastian while we work on Alex's audio. Sebastian, you're with me, right?
Yes, yes, I am.
Oh, beautiful. So I don't know if you could pick up from where Alex left. I know
Yes.
particularly the focus will be on POS, because the idea for merchant agency banking is to penetrate areas where banks cannot get to. So what have you seen in terms of the spread across rural and urban areas? Who should I run to if I'm in the hinterlands? Who should I run to if I'm in the urban areas?
Okay, so I'll take a deep dive from the first question that Alice was trying to sort out. So I think looking at rural and urban area, we need to be able to differentiate those two based on the level of internet connectivity that those regions enjoy or experience. So if there's a region where they have more good penetration of internet connectivity, which we can attribute to the urban areas, definitely the users will be able to go through their mobile app and internet banking. And in the rural areas where we know the penetration of internet facilities is a bit poor, we tend to refer to the USSD, which is the unstructured supplementary data services, and which is also a means where you can carry out your transactions without the need of data and internet. Then we now dive down into agency banking. With the help of CBN and collaboration with SANEF, we've been able to have a couple of organizations come together to form the shared agent network, where our sole goal is to empower the mass market with pure point of sales terminals, mobile point of sales, and also be able to carry out financial services on terminals. So the SANEF team have been able to help facilitate the expansion of this agent network into regions that you least expect. So this has also helped to reduce the cost of building a mom and pop shop, locations for banks. It has helped reduce brick and mortar bank locations and also help empower a lot of people. So people actually trust this is what we call community banking. People believe in people that they see, so they walk up to these agents that have been selected by the super agents for their transactions. So the POS is also one of the best ways to reach out to the rural areas.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Sebastian. So let me come back to Chiri. So we talked about some of the options focused on, the POS, try to know which is for which area. And I'm glad that you can actually use some of these other options wherever you are. So it's not really limited, but you can find the one that works for you and use it quite well. But let's talk about the ATM. It's one we overlook a lot, but ATMs are not just for withdrawing cash, are they? Is there any other thing you can do on the ATM besides withdrawing cash that can help you reduce dependence on physical cash?
That's actually a beautiful question, because if you look around, you see that a lot of people visit the ATM.
Yeah.
Locations just to withdraw cash. But there are a couple of things you can actually do with the ATM, apart from the cash withdrawal. You can do your transfers on the ATM. Yeah, you can just go to the ATM and you transfer. You want to transfer to someone, especially for people that don't really have access to smartphones, or they don't know how to use it on the phone, so they can go to the ATM locations and carry out some transfers there. You can also make payments, bill payments on the ATM. Yeah, for example, you want to renew your DSTV, or you want
on an ATM.
You can do it on the ATM. Yeah, you can visit any ATM locations. You can do that. So that's other option, that you can do, rather than just maybe looking around on how to do it. You are stressed, or you're stranded and you don't know what to do. You don't have data on your phone, and you don't know any agent that you can visit to do that. You can walk up to the ATM location and carry out such transactions. Yeah, you can do that.
Oh, okay. I don't know if you're like me and you're just finding out some of this thing, but it's okay. We're learning. It's an enlightenment program, so also, we're being enlightened. Yes.
So on the ATM, apart from using card to make payment, to withdraw or to carry out these transactions on the ATM, there's also something that is called biometric withdrawal. Sure. So you can use biometric on the ATM, your fingerprint on the ATM to do withdrawal. Yeah, so it's not just limited to card.
There you go. You heard it here first. So don't just look at that ATM and see cash alone. You can do way more with that same ATM. So explore the options. All right, let's move on and talk about internet banking now. I'm glad that we demystified the ATM to an extent. Mr. Olufemi Odumoboni, internet banking. I know that a lot of people have been skeptical about it for different reasons. Okay. They just imagine, wait a minute, how can all my money be on this smartphone and I can do and undo on this same smartphone that anybody can pick and do anything with it? In fact, that was a major challenge during this whole cashless economy period, because people didn't want to get on board. They just wanted to still have that physical cash or their ATM with them. So let's speak to them this evening. Let's convert them so that they can be born again. How can they get on board internet banking, and what sort of confidence? How can they have confidence in that?
Okay, so very, very nice question. It's an opportunity to even explain more. So let me shock you that incidentally, internet banking is actually the safest, most secured channel.
Sorry, you have to say that again.
And the reason I'm
for the people
that,
at the back to hear.
yes, it's actually the most secured. And the reason I say that is that even if you want to do #1 transaction on internet banking, you will use your token. Okay, so a token is required. If you look at losses that people record, you very rarely see losses on internet banking.
Really?
Is that secured? Okay, so people should just be rest assured. Internet banking is extremely secure, it's safe. Plus the certain things that you need to provide, for example, so even on board on internet banking. So for example, if I take a First Bank, for instance, so what you need to do is to launch the URL. So your first online, so you go to www.firstbanknigeria.com. You see the internet banking option. So you see for individual and you see for corporate. But because we are talking to mass market today, we restrict ourselves to the individual. So of course, in internet banking, why it is safe is because you will have to be onboarded with your card. Okay. So when I say onboarding with your card, I mean your debit card. So that your debit card, don't be afraid. You won't have to provide everything, but you provide the first 6 digits and your last 4 digits. So it's a max PAN that you provide there. So once you provide that, your debit card information, there's an OTP, one-time password that is generated. Okay, it's going to be sent to your registered phone number. So once you have that OTP sent to your registered phone number, and the system prompts you to provide a user ID. So once the system prompts you to provide a user ID, not only a user ID, you're also going to provide your security question and answer. Okay, you provide a password. So once you put all those details, then, and again, you also have to provide what we call a true stamp and a phrase. So once you have the user ID, your password, your security question that is known to you, and the answer, you have the true stamp, you have the phrase itself, then of course that user ID is created for you successfully. And you can then log in with the user ID and of course your password. But each time you're logging on, it will request for that true stamp and the phrase. So, and even the password that you're going to be putting is case sensitive and it's alphanumeric. So it's like 8-digit minimum in terms of strength. So it's not easy for anybody to permutate like that and guess it. And when you want to do transactions on it, for example, in First Bank, you will need a token. So you can see the kind of controls we built into it. In addition to that, what we're also trying to do is to have like a behavioral monitoring solution. What that means is that we are saying, yeah, let's the system track my transaction patterns. And if there is an out of pattern transaction, it flags it and say, no, this is not a typical Femi transaction. For instance, I move, let's say 100K to my money every month, for instance. And suddenly, from that same my user ID and everything, it's suddenly saying 2 million. I mean, this thing is going to flag and say, you're going to challenge me to provide certain things. This is not Femi. So it's an AI enabled solution that just keeps your transactions in check. So on internet banking is extremely safe. Little wonder most people prefer to use it because they are rest assured. The traditionalists, when I say traditionalists, the older guys who are not Gen Zs, Gen X, and Gen Ys, they prefer to use the internet banking. They feel very, very safe and secure.
I'm sorry, when you said traditionalists,
yeah, that's what I said.
But even the oracles have bank accounts now. You guys, you can transfer to the oracle. All right, let's go virtual now. Alex, let's come back to you. And as we talked about as we're talking about the online banking and all of that, I couldn't help but remember cases of people who've had challenges here and there, had to go online, report cases of, issues generally with their banks. And I'd like us to speak about this for a while and talk about this. How can I best secure my online banking such that I am not prone? I mean, nothing is 100% safe. As much as this is the safest, perhaps there's still maybe a little margin of error. So how can I begin to secure in terms of my password, in terms of the use of my phone, ATM, and all of that? How can I secure my online?
Okay, so first and foremost, to secure your password, the liability for your password is for the user. Is a very important because having your password and compromising your password gives someone access to your account. And because the computer is such that is what you provide to it, it will use to authenticate you. It doesn't tell A from B. As long as you give them the right username and the password, the computer assumes that, or the platform assumes that you are the authentic person. So it's very important that you make sure that your password is safe. And first and foremost, what you need to do is from the get-go, you need to use a very strong password. You need to have a very strong password. Sometimes people, for convenience, they use passwords that are simple, maybe a combination of your date of birth and something that people can always guess. That is not the best practice. Your password should be, and most banks try to make sure that your password is a mixture of uppercase, lowercase, digits, alphabet, and numerals to make it complex. And secondly, the best way to secure your password is not to share your password, not to compromise your password. Your password is not a gift you give to people. It must be for you and for you alone. It's your money. It's your account. When you open the account as an individual. So it must be for you and for you alone. And when you are accessing internet banking, it's advised not to do it on a public wireless.
Right.
No, you must make sure that you are using a private system, your personal system to be preferred, your personal phone. And most times when you log on, do not save your password maybe for it to easily be remembered. You save it in
because there's always that option.
room.
Save your password.
Please do not resist the temptation to save your password, because this increases the risk of being compromised. Because once someone has access to your account, your password, the person can do a lot with your phone. So one is to use a complex password that is not easily to be guessed. Secondly, is to ensure that you use your internet banking on your private phone or your private laptop, and try to avoid using a public network for accessing your internet banking. Is very important. And whenever you feel that your password may have been compromised, it doesn't need to be compromised. Whenever you feel that your password may have been compromised, it's always better to change it. In fact, you can set that you change your internet password every 3 months to avoid issues. So it is better safe than sorry.
Absolutely. Especially
internet
when it comes
banking
to our
is a
hard-earned money.
very secured platform.
Indeed.
But it can be as secured as you want it, because once you compromise your password, your account is no longer safe. So as much
Alex,
as
we're due
possible,
for a break now, but I know there is more to discuss, especially some of the hiccups a lot of people have experienced in the past 2 months. It's been a very tricky period. Don't forget, you can call in. You can send in your message, questions, perhaps whatever challenge you have. We have the experts here, and they're here for you. So 0810-608-8255. 1681 is the number to send us a message through, or 0818-202-5883. You're still listening to the Financial Literacy and Public Enlightenment Radio Show, brought to you by the Bankers Committee. We're due for a break now, but not to worry. When we return, we'll take your questions, your calls, and a lot more issues in a moment. Stay with us.
Thank you. Yeah. No. It's only when this one.
You're welcome back. It is still the Financial Literacy and Public Enlightenment Radio Show, brought to you by the Bankers Committee. We're live all across Nigeria. In fact, we're live all across the world. We're live on Radio Nigeria's network. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Zoom. We're live for today and for the future. You can always catch up on this episode in the coming days, okay? So, hey, we're here for you. And I have amazing people with me in the studio and virtually this evening. Chinyere Tonieke, Group Head, Digital Banking, Globus Bank. She's been walking us through all of the other payment options. I'm talking ATM, internet banking, and POS, but she's not the only one. I also have Olufemi Ojumoboni, Head, Online Banking, First Bank, right next to her in our Lagos studio. And joining us virtually, Aderinsola Adeyeye. It's good to have you back, by the way, as Group Head, ATM Services and Acquiring Fidelity Bank. He's joining us via Zoom. Alex Iwachukwu is Product Manager, EcoBank, also via Zoom. And Sebastian Enechi, Founder, CEO, Shago Payments Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your insights so far. But let's milk you further, okay? You're here for Nigerians, you're here for us. And I'll go to Aderinsola. I mean, you just joined us. And I'd like you to just get your thoughts, really, on all of this different payment options. We are moving, or we have moved into the cashless economy. I'd like you to just give us an insight into just how much a lot of Nigerians have embraced this. And yeah, basically, how much have people embraced this? And maybe what are some of the challenges you've noticed in recent times? Aderinsola, that's for you, by the way.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening, it's good to see you.
Same here. Good evening once again. Okay, so it's evident that a lot of Nigerians have actually embraced this because number one is the spike in transaction counts across all channels. If you look at the ATM channel, the POS channel, the web also, you would agree with me that all the acquirers or processors have experienced as high as 400 to 500% increase in the number of transactions being processed. And regarding adaptability by the citizens, I would give it is 70% because we still have some people who are still skeptical.
Yeah.
And the onus lies on the banks and the financial institutions to try to ensure that all their fears are allayed, and everyone wants to be sure that their funds are safe and they can do seamless transactions and they can have efficient and effective services. So like I said before, all we need to do is to ensure that we put things in place that will give them the level of confidence and comfort that they require or they aspire to get from us as financial institutions. By so doing, we would have a lot more people onboarding on all the various channels on the digital platform so that we can have increase in adoption.
Thank you very much. Great opener for you. So let's talk about POS a little bit more. Then we'll take on all of the challenges. I've been seeing the calls and messages. Keep the messages coming in. We'll open the phone lines in a few minutes. But let's talk POS. And I'll go to Sebastian naturally for this one. And just talk to us about POS, agency banking, whatever term people are comfortable with. Apart from withdrawing cash, what other transactions can be performed on a POS machine, and how safe are these transactions?
Yeah, so I would like to say every transaction that you can find, I can say most of the transaction that is available on the ATM machines are available on the POS terminals. So the difference
size is not a matter here.
Yes. So the difference between the ATM and the POS is just that on the ATM, it's automated. So the human effort to count the actual cash to dispense in the case of withdrawal is actually done by the POS agent. But you can do bank account opening, you can do money transfer on POS, you can make purchases with your card in the supermarket or eatery. You can also, some accredited merchants under their super agent network can also help you with BVN enrollment. Yeah, and also in partnership with some bank, you can also open bank account via the POS terminals. And aside from that, you can also pay bills. So every bill payment services that's available on the ATM or on internet banking are also available via the POS channels.
All right, so you heard that. But you talk about the safety, just how safe, how secure are these transactions? Because you've talked about the human part. Yeah. You know what they say now. Once you introduce, the human angle to things, that is that every time. So just how safe?
Yeah, so these POS terminals are actually safe. They are safe as the ATM machine because they also pass through the same regulatory processes and security measure features that is in place for ATM. So the POS terminals, before they are deployed, they also go through the PCI-DSS certification processes, go through the NIPS platform, NIPS security processes. They are ISO certified and they are all EMV certified as well. So those POS terminals have gone through the international best practices as regards to safety and regulations. Then when it comes to the human part, so like my colleague also said, Felix, compromise has to do with exposure, you allowing your PIN to be compromised by a third party. So it's actually advisable that you only release your card at the point of the actual payment, and you also ensure your PIN is actually imputed by you. You don't share your PIN with anybody. So if you're in front of a merchant, you want to pay for goods and services, once the merchant is done imputing the amount that needed to pay for such services, the honor is on him to hand over those terminals or the POS to you as a customer to impute your PIN. And it's also advisable you hold on to that POS until the transaction is either successful or declined. So once you get the final confirmation from the terminals, a receipt is automatically generated from that terminal. That's at the point you remove your ATM card. So you don't share your PIN with any merchant. That is actually the part that you need to guide.
All right. Thank you, Sebastian. Just a quick recap. In case you're just joining us, you're listening to the Financial Literacy and Public Enlightenment radio show brought to you by the Bankers Committee, coming to you live from Radio Nigeria Network. We're live across all over the country. We're discussing alternative payment channels. Our focus is particularly on ATM, internet banking, and POS, just to help you see how you can do your transactions without hard cash. Don't forget, we are in the cashless economy regime. And, our resource persons have been walking us through what you can do with these alternative payment channels and how you can use them for your everyday transactions. I mean, we talked about going to the bookshop, entering transport, literally everything that you have to do. And, you know, I talked about other payment channels, which we'll be talking about much later. Talk about the USSD. I mean, I like the QR code, scan and pay, virtual account, and all of that. But we're focusing on ATM, internet banking, and POS. Are you listening to us this evening? And you've maybe tried some of these channels, you've had challenges, or maybe you've not, and you're wondering, I like what I hear. I want to be a part of this. Teach me how to do this. Well, you can call us right now, or you can send us a message wherever you are in Nigeria. We're here for you. The number to call or to send a message to is 0810 608 1681 or 0818 202 5883. I have a couple of messages here. I'll be taking them, but I want to quickly run through the challenges because I know that might be top on the mind of a lot of people. And let me start with Chiri. I know women have a way of solving challenges. You say what a man can do, a woman can do better. So let me start with you, Chiri. There have been challenges, and a lot of people have complained online, offline, saying, well, I went to the ATM, I tried to use the POS, or I tried to use internet banking, and it ended in tears. I ate breakfast. In all of these things they say. Why did we see a lot of challenges in this period, unlike we saw previously? Because a lot of people could just do internet banking, POS, and just close their eyes and expect things to go through. But this time, within the past 2 months, it's been very tricky. Can you give us an insight, Rick?
Okay, thank you for the question, but I will just say that we noticed a lot of people, well, rather than put it this way, that there's high adoption of these channels within this period, unlike what we've been experiencing in the time past. So a lot of people have started making use of the channels. So that also could have contributed to some of the challenges that people were having because of high traffic of transactions that were being routed from these channels.
Mr. Odumobon, your take on this?
Yeah, that's true. We've seen upsurge in transactions, I mean, in all the banks. Okay, so as you see the upsurge in transactions, it naturally comes with its own challenges. I mean, it's like, I will always use an analogy. So a small door, okay, maybe 1 or 2 persons pass through it seamlessly. You now want 1,000 people to pass through that same tiny door. There's going to be commotion and all that. So what I think the banks are doing right now, and we've actually planned ahead of time, is to expand capacity, to build infrastructure, to upscale it, okay, to overall backend services, just to make sure that we have more throughput, okay, to increase the speed at which transactions are being processed. So a lot of banks are spending so much, I mean, in terms of upgrading their IT infrastructure. Our technical partners, we are reskilling everything, trying to make sure that we process, because we feel the pulse of Nigerians, and regrettably so that they pass through this. But again, it's to make things better for all of us. So we're saying, how do we collectively grow the adoption of the channels? And in doing so, we then look at how do we increase capacity over time. So this, since the cashless policy has come to stay, you will see in the coming weeks and months that a lot of banks' infrastructure would have been upgraded to take on more of these things. A lot of platforms are being stabilized and optimized as we speak, such that you then have faster and seamless transaction processing. So my plea to Nigerians generally, especially as we pass through this difficult challenge, is to give that message of hope that things are getting better. Banks are not unmindful of the challenges that our customers face through, and we work day and night, and I mean it, day and night. Sometimes we work overnight just to make sure things, our IT guys don't rest. A lot of things just go by its side just to make sure things improve. So we can give that commitment that the coming weeks and months, things will definitely be better.
After that, you're now working Saturdays and Sundays as well.
Exactly. To even open up our banking hours to customers.
And you know, just to stretch that point, a testament of that commitment is this radio series, the
Exactly.
Financial Literacy and Public Enlightenment radio series, where you have access to financial service providers to ask your questions. And I mean, you can just tell they're being honest, they're being forthright, and you can hear that honesty from them that, you know what, we're trying to make this better. Let me take this to Alex and just bounce the same question off you. I'd like everybody to speak to this so Nigerians can at least get a back-end view of what's going on. I mean, we're using the apps, we're using the POS, but we don't get that benefit of what's going on behind the scenes. So, Alex, your thoughts on this one?
Well, I think there are, of course, every human system have inherent challenges and glitches, which of course we experience from time to time. But what I've also observed that there also has been an increased investment, just like the last speaker has said, on building not just banks, but the whole ecosystem to be robust, to be able to handle not just the current transactions, but future projected transactions. While this sometimes takes some time, but we have observed that most of the stakeholders, especially banks, have increased their investment in their IT infrastructure. And of course, while we are not there at 100%, a lot of improvement have been seen over the recent past. So I think it's also an eye-opener for every stakeholder to ensure that we keep doing what is required to make sure that Nigerians have access to these alternative channels anytime, every time.
Thank you very much. I just got this question. It's a text message actually from Paul Bashi. And it's interesting that the question ties into the answers you guys have given. So I hope, Paul, that has answered your questions, particularly about the network issues which you asked about. We also get answers about what to do when these issues seem well, intractable, or you've been trying to get through and looks like you're not getting a response. We'll get response to that for you on the show this evening, so not to worry. I'd just like to say that our phone lines are open now. All right, so if you want to call, this is a time for you to call in. We are taking your calls right now. And in case you're wondering, what number do I call? 0810, right? 0810 608 1681, right? You can also call us on 0818 202 5883. All right, that's 0818 202 5883. So just tell us your name, where you're calling from, and just ask your question so we can get the resource persons to answer those questions for you. All right, so let me move on and just get our other resource persons to speak to these challenges. All right, okay, just before I go to Adira Salah, let's take this call. All right, good evening. Welcome to the Financial Literacy and Public Enlightenment radio show. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Did you say bright? White. Okay, White, please go ahead with your question. Okay, so what's your question? And please turn on the volume of your radio set. Okay, thank you, White. All right, so that question is particularly to a service provider which is not represented here today. So, I mean, generically speaking, there are channels which White can actually reach out to. So White, it's important, I should have asked you, if you've tried to get feedback from those channels. Those channels should be available online and maybe via phone calls. So please try that, exhaust those options, all right? And please let us know what happens with that. That's White telling us about his challenge. You can call us as well on the other lines. We'll take your calls. White just spoke to us about his own challenge. 0810-608-1681 or 0818-202-5883. Adirishola, the challenges, they are there, very present with us. And as has been said, there's a lot of work being done behind the scenes. Can you give us some more insights into that?
Okay, so good evening once again. I think I like the analogy the previous speaker used about a small door for 2 people. Now you need to get about 1,000 people through it. That's the simple thing happening now. A lot of banks have fantastic infrastructure. However, those infrastructure were set up in line with what we currently have and say our projections. And I'm sure nobody even projected that we're going to see 100% increase in this transaction upsurge. Now with this, it leaves us in a situation whereby we have a huge demand on the bank's infrastructure. Aside the bank, we also have certain processors that work with all banks. They also are required to scale up too. So this is just a capacity or infrastructure issue that has just come all of a sudden, and all banks are working day and night. Like my fellow panelists said or mentioned the other time, we work around the clock and 7 days a week, actually, including Saturdays and Sundays, where while the banking hall is open to serve customers, the technology team are at the background working to ensure that everything is working well at the front end where the customers are being served. So I think that's the major reason for all these challenges, actually, capacity.
All right. We have another call. I'll have to hold you there. Good evening. Welcome to the program. What's your name and where are you calling from? Sam from Akwa Ibom. All right, Sam, go ahead with your question, please. Okay, so you said your friend sent you 2,000 and you got 1,900. Did you at any time? Okay, you know what? Let me get generic response to that yet again. Well, we're not specific about the service provider, but maybe we just troubleshoot and find out what might be responded for that. Thank you very much, Sam. Any takers for that question? I like to imagine what happened. That has happened before, but any takers? What are the possibilities for Sam?
Okay, if I may speak to that,
Yeah.
One of the possibilities is it depends on, first, like you said, the provider through which platform the money was sent. And there is also a possibility where the sender will choose to pass the transaction fee to the beneficiary. So in that case, it depends. It depends on the channel. Like we listed several channels and several options that you can use. And if it is a situation whereby the platform allows for the sender to pass the transaction fee to the beneficiary, in that case, you'll be paid less. Less, removing the transaction fee so you have the balance in your account. So that's one of the possibilities of what could have happened. Else, he's supposed to receive his complete 2,000.
Interesting insight. I didn't know that. I know sometimes maybe you had negative balance for a while. Maybe you got to pay for SMS alerts. I know some of these charges and the bank account.
Possibility.
So maybe that's what happens.
It's possible that maybe he has debit balances in his account. Maybe he's accumulated some charges. So as at the time the money dropped into his account, the system had to first take the charges
Right.
and then release the balance to him. So this is also another possibility of what could have happened.
Thank you for that insight. So Sam, try to get to the root of this. Call your service provider. We're winding down in less than 2 minutes, but I need to take these messages. Okay, these questions. This one is from let me see. Salami Yisal Adigun says that somebody withdraws my money from my account. Please, what can I do? Thanks. I can even feel the pain in that message, and it's a very, very serious one. We don't know who this person is. If you know who the person is, or you just keep getting these debit alerts, what have you. But what can he do? I don't know. Who do I come to now?
Okay, I think I can.
You can take that.
So, okay, apologies for your experience. I mean, talking to the customer now, but I know on USSD, for example, there are some emergency codes that you can dial, okay, where your account is actually blocked. So that you don't, once you notice that, and quickly that. So for example, in First Bank, you can dial *894 *911 hash. So it then blocks your account. So nobody can access it across the different platforms that we've spoken about. And maybe within 24 hours, you can unblock your account again, just to find out that not something fishy is not actually happening. But at that point in time, you could actually use the SSD code to block the account.
Okay.
I can do it even from a third-party phone. As
Right.
how sophisticated for this.
There are messages and calls coming in, but we have to run right now. I'm getting the signals from everywhere, but not to worry. The conversation continues on social media. We'll try to get answers to these questions you have put in and then put them on our social media platforms. So follow us across all platforms on Instagram, on Twitter. In case you're wondering what they are, go to smegrowth.ng. You get access to all of those social media platforms. All right. We are here for you day and night. You heard them. Lady, gentlemen, we have to run now, but I'd like to say that I have been seriously enlightened by you. Shinyere Tony AK, Group Head Digital Banking, Global Bank, Olufemi Odumuboni, Head Online Banking, First Bank, Adirin Solade, Group Head ATM Services and Acquiring, Fidelity Bank, Alexi Uchuku, Product Manager, EcoBank, and Sebastian Enechi, Founder and CEO, Shago Payments Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time on the show this evening.
Thank you very much.
Not to worry, we're back next week, okay, with more information, more enlightenment. We're still on social media, so keep those comments, questions coming in. We're here for you. But I have to sign out right now. As much as I love this, we're bound by time. And on behalf of the production crew, the Director of FRC and Lagos Operations, Bolanle Woyemi, Head of Programs, Assistant Director Maria Owoma, the engineers, you may have seen them if you join us on Zoom. They've been doing an amazing work. Ademola Kombi, Olatunde Latif, Daniel Kwe, and studio manager Idowu Eusebio. Thank you so much for being a part of this and making this a success. We're back next week. Till then, I'm Kayode Okikio.